So you can tell it's getting around Christmas time because FedEx delivered me this package today. It was supposed to come in 2 or 3 days ago, but I got it today on Sunday. And we're going to open it up today together. Now let me show you what I bought. I've been wanting a clock like this, and it's taken me a long time to get a clock like this for a price that I was willing to pay. So far they did a good job of packing it. There was a clock out in California for a lot less than this. You could tell it was a scam. I got a friend that lives out in California, and he was willing to, because when I contacted the seller, they said they wouldn't ship. So I got a friend out in California, and he was willing to get it and ship it for me. And I'm going to show you that clock after I show you this clock. But the lady said he would have to pay half of it. And he's like, we'll meet up and I'll pay it all. And she never did get back with him. Hope this tape don't peel the paint off, which it did. They should have used painter's tape and not freaking masking tape. Jerks. I'll have to send them a message about that. In fact, I'm going to stop this video and take a picture of this tape before I crumple it up. This clock is known as what is called a French Bakers clock. As you can see, the door opens. What you're going to love about this clock is what I love about this clock. And again, I'm going to have to take pictures and let them know that they did a crappy job packing it up because the rays and numbers have came off. And one of them is out of the holder. They should have done a better job at packing this up. This is to keep the movement in, and it was just laying in the case. And here's the other one, just laying in the case. Unfortunately, with this site, you don't always get a clock in working order. But it's a beautiful clock, antique clock. Beautiful painting around the inside of the glass. Raised numbers. And I'm going to have to take the hands off to get the movement out. And there's a pen a tapered pen that holds the hands on. Let me get a container so I can put parts in a container. You should be able to see the tapered pen right here. Trying to take it off on camera. I'm going to push the camera back over here. Get out my eyes so I can figure out how to take this thing off. It looks like a hairpin, I mean a straight pin or maybe a nail. Came out the other way. There was a washer that came off first, and then the hand, and then the hour hand. And then these little rods that I was telling you about, these little thumb screws, that's what holds the dial in place. So now I can take the dial off. There's an extra hammer. That's what that looks like. The movement is loose in the case. I'm going to have to tighten up the screws, but I'm going to take the movement out. Which consists of, normally, it consists of, anyway, there's 3 screws. I'm going to take the movement out, so stand by. I actually got the screws out, but before I go much further, I want to listen to the gong. So I'm going to turn the hands. Which it activated once, but not activating now. And the hammer is not adjusted to hit the gong. The gong is trying to lift, but it's not lifting. So anyway, I got my work cut out for me. I didn't even see if the clock was wound up or not. But here you can see the gong trying to lift. And here you can see it's away. But with this clock, if the rods are touching the wood, which they are, it's not going to give you that sound that you want to hear. And so I'm going to have to adjust the gong and the hammer and service the movement. Lucky me. Here's a trademark of this movement. Here I'm on antiquewatch.com. Here's that same trademark, Japy Freres. I'm going to go over to microlesque.com, so stand by. It's what I don't like about the Microlesque database. If you type in Japy Freres, it's going to give you 2 trademarks. But that's not all there is, so... And I don't know whether to search for it under J or F, so stand by, let me find it. It under J, and this is all the Japy Freres trademarks that they give. However, that trademark, I know I got it in another database, so stand by. It's from the clock guy. There's the trademark. But I believe I have another site that I can look at. It's got to do with identifying French trademarks. I know I got it on my group page, so let me find it. The posting that I was looking for, but it talks about Japy Freres, but it also talks about medallions. And having the medallions would give you a better date, specify the date that a clock was made. So with that said, I'm going to have to go back to this trademark here, database. And the the database isn't very clear on when the trademark was given. I'm not for sure when this trademark here was given. But it is Japy Freres. And because it doesn't have the gold medallion, I'm going to say that it was made it's a good question. I don't know. With a microlist database, if it had it, it would show you the trademark was awarded on this particular date. But it doesn't show you all the Japy Freres trademarks. But because it's a panda movement, the French changed to nuts in between 1900 and 1910, give or take. There was a lag period of time, so I'm going to date this clock before the 1900s because it's a panda movement, and as you can see, it's ticking away. I'm going to check it out to see whether I need to clean it or not, because I don't want to take this movement apart if I don't have to, because I have several other clocks I need to be working on. And with count wheel movements, there's no rack and snail. So when I turn the intermediate wheel, clock just went into warning. They go into warning about 5 minutes before they're supposed to strike. That was the hour. Here's the half hour. Watch the governor fan. It just went into warning. There's the half hour. I'm turning the small wheel here, which is the intermediate wheel. Watch the governor fan. It'll spin half a turn when the clock goes into warning. Went into warning. There's the hour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it stops. Here comes the half hour. Went into warning. Half hour. The count wheel is missing the tapered pin that goes in that hole. So I'll have to put a tapered pin in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it stops. So the there's not really much of a leather, I guess it is, on the hammer. And like I said, there was this piece here that was inside the clock, and I think it's an extra hammer. I think. I could be wrong. Well, that's what it looks like to me. Anyway, I'm going to put fresh oil on this thing, and I'm going to put it back in the case, because it looks good to me. It looks nice and clean. I'm just going to oil the pivots and put it back in the case. The clock did come with the original key and the original pendulum, and setting this thing up on my desk just to see what's going on. It's somewhat in beat, but I find that with these clocks, these French clocks, you know, you can mess with this thing and get it in perfect ticking order, but when you hang it on your wall, if the movement's not put into the case perfectly, it might not tick and beat with you messing with it perfectly. So I'm just gonna put it back in the case and then tilt the clock one way or the other to get it in perfect working order. The gong out to see how flat it was, and you can see this part is not flat whatsoever. It's not touching the table. So that is what I'm going to be working on, is try to get it to touch the table, which now it does. So I'll see what it looks like when I put it back in the case. The hinges that hold this box on are loose. I'm going to have to take these hinges, I'm going to have to take it apart and glue some wood, because this wood is separated from that wood. So I'm going to fix all that, put some wood filler or glue in these cracks, because I don't want the thing falling apart. Using some Howard beading wax, I gave the wood a drink, and the screws that they used to put the movement in were actually too long as they came through the back of the case. So I put some wood filler in the holes, and I will grind the screws down so they're not as long. And I'm going to have to wait for the top part to dry. So I added Tybon glue and wood filler to fill in the cracks. Now you have to adjust the gong with the case standing up, because if you lay it down, the weight of the gong is going to make it touch the board. Sounds better already. I found out where this little piece here goes that I thought was the hammer, an extra hammer. I was wrong. It's a stupid foot that holds the dial in place. And these have to be positioned just right to go into the movement, to put the pins in. And this one's loose. So I'm not too happy with that. I think it had something to do with their packing, and I'm going to let them know. So using some Loctite epoxy, 2-part epoxy that you squeeze and it mixes together, I put the posts in place and I put the movement, because if you don't do that, it'll dry wrong. So now I gotta wait, and I don't remember how long it takes to dry. Says leave undisturbed for 20 minutes. But what sucks about this stuff is the epoxy mixes down this tube. So even if you only need a little bit, you might as well, you can take the tube off and put the cap back on to use the rest later. But as far as the tube goes, it's a one-time deal. So anyway, time for me to take a break. Here, I made a complaint to customer service, and I say, hi, I wanted to pass on to you that I received this clock yesterday. Even though it was packed tight, the packers didn't secure the movement in the case, causing one of the pins that hold the dial onto the movement to come off, causing most of the numbers that are porcelain to come off, and finally they used masking tape to secure the glass, which when removed caused some of the original paint to come off of the wood case. I don't want to return the clock, but in the pictures there was nothing wrong with the clock, but now there is. So I have to get it repaired. I feel partial compensation is justified. Please see attached pictures. I'm not saying that I will get a partial refund. I would be okay if I did, but I paid for a clock. There was nothing wrong with it, and when I received it, there's something wrong with it, and so that's what insurance is for. 99% of the time, Goodwill has always gave me a partial or a full refund when there was damage to the clocks, and I was able to repair the clocks, because that's what I do. But if I had to take it to somebody to have it repaired, it would be more money out of my pocket. So don't ever, if they say, okay, take it to the post office, we'll refund your money, don't ever do that unless you don't want the item. Because when you take it to the post office, you're not going to get the item back. Most of the time, damage can be fixed. So just give you a heads up. If you want to keep the item, don't ever take it to the post office. That Loctite epoxy has been set up for about 20 hours now. It seems to have done its thing. But now, more of these numbers have came off. So now, I have to put the rest of the numbers on. And I think I'm going to use that Loctite epoxy to do it. But, a lot of people are going to be telling me, you shouldn't be complaining to Goodwill about getting a refund. I can show you the pictures. This clock was in perfect condition when I bought it, and that's why I bid as much as I did on it. But now it's not in perfect condition, so I have to repair it. Yes, I can repair it, but if you bid on something, and you tell yourself, well, I'm going to bid this much because I love that clock, you expect that clock to be in that condition when you get it. If I wasn't a clock repair person, or somewhat of a clock repair person, and if I had to take this clock to somebody to get it repaired, that'd be more money out of my pocket. And so it's only fair that if they offer services, that they should A, not use masking tape to tape the glass down, because masking tape will pull off the wood. B, should have put packing inside where the case is to prevent this from happening and prevent the posts from breaking off. I had to repair, one was loose and one was completely off. Well, two of them were loose and one was completely off. So, yeah, I should make a complaint, and it's only justified. So now I got to put the numbers on. I decided to use Aliens on this project. I don't know whether it's going to hold it or not. I'm sure it will. But I had to repair 7 of the numbers that were in perfect order. This is the picture that I went off of, and as you can see, every one of those numbers are in. As you can see, the movement is in where it needs to be. And so that's what I bought, but that's not what I have. Yes, I could fix it, but again, I shouldn't have to. They should have packed it properly. I guarantee you, if you bought something off of eBay that was in working condition, and when you got it, that you would be making a complaint to the seller, because eBay has 100% customer satisfaction. So why not with this site also? Purchase prices on French Baker clocks are all over the place. Here's one that they're asking $719 off of Etsy. Now, this is on my marketplace. You go to marketplace and you go to buying. This is the stuff that you talk to the people on. You notice it says sold, but this is the one that was out in California. I asked them if they would ship it. They said no. And then I got my friend who lives out in California. He was going to buy it. And she's like, well, you got to give me half of the $25 up front. And he was like, well, I'll give it all to you whenever I see you. You're only like 15 minutes away. And she never got back to him. It was a scam. But to get a French Baker clock for $25, it's rare. It's not as nice as mine because mine has the raised numbers, but for $25, that's a different story. What I don't like about seeing my history on Marketplace is because this table cuckoo clock, I bought the thing. I paid him $107 plus another $9.25 shipping. He sent me the wrong clock. This is, I want to say it's GHS. No, sorry. Anyway, it's a table cuckoo, a shelf cuckoo clock that I bought, and he sent me the wrong clock. He refunded me my money, and I returned his clock that he sent me, but he didn't send me this clock. And that's what I hate about looking at my history on Marketplace, because it brings up bad memories, so to speak. There's another clock I was wanting to show you. This clock right here, I was supposed to get for $20. Never did get. This clock right here, which is a Black Forest German clock, I was supposed to get for $50, and the guy wouldn't ship it. It's got everything except for the pendulum. He lives in Indiana. I have a friend and a group member who was going to go camping 5 miles away from this guy's house. And he said if the guy brought it to his campsite because he's going to have his family, that he would pay him for it and then he would ship it to me. The guy didn't even want to go 5 miles to sell a clock. And anyway, that's what I hate about history on Facebook Marketplace, is because I see all the clocks that I should have had, could have had, would have had. Here's my farmer's daughter's clock that I paid $30 for. I did get some good deals, but and then it shows me stuff that I clicked on, but I didn't send them an offer or anything. But anyway, it's this is my Johan's. It's similar to a baker's clock. All the same, but it was made in Germany versus French. And I paid $85 plus another $20 in shipping on it. And there's that clock, that Johan's Baker's style clock right there. So using the A-lings, even though I put my fingers on the numbers, taking the tape off, the numbers, porcelain pieces didn't stay. So now I'm going to put some super glue in and see what happens. In case you ever wonder why they use the type of board they use, this post shows you. There are 3 reasons. To avoid confusion, IV4 looked like BI6, so if you wanted to look at the clock quickly, I was easier to see. It looked better. The dial was better distributed after 5 hours. The B5 appears 4 times on the dial. The Romans themselves preferred the I. Besides being the oldest way of writing the 4 in Roman, IV also had to do with supreme God, Jupiter, god of the sky and thunder. They were the initial letters of his name. For that reason, she preferred not to use it. It was a bit cheaper, namely it was cheaper to have a I made 4 times. For a clock, you need 20 times the I, 4 times the V, and 4 times the X. And that was cheaper to melt than if odd number had to be made. So that is the reason why. And I'll take a picture of this and put it in this video. I told you that they use two longer screws. This is original screw, and it went through the back of the backboard, so I ground it off. Here you can see 4 threads in the original screw, and now you see 3 threads, and so it shouldn't go through the back of the door, back of the case. And you can see where that masking tape took the paint off, the original paint, 150-year-old paint, where that masking tape took it off in several spots. They shouldn't have used masking tape. They should have used painter's tape. Yes, it could be colored in, but that's not the point. They should have used painter's tape versus masking tape. I got the door back on, and these doors come with this little prop here. That way you can keep the door open. And I'm going to let you hear what the gong sounds like. Sounds like crap. But remember, I told you with the Clockland plat that the gong itself is touching the wood. So if you turn it up straight, like it would be hanging on the wall, and then activate the gong, sounds more vibrant, like it's supposed to. Now, the pendulum for these clocks are a pain in the butt to put on because you can't access the back, especially when you put the dial on. And so it's kind of a, like I said, it's kind of a pain in the butt to put on. I'm still waiting for my numbers to dry. And this clock is missing the other part of this latch that goes up here where it should connect to. And it has to be in a shape that goes into that B cutout. So you just can't put an eye hook on it, because the eye hook would have to be able to fit into that cutout. I think they might have used wire, like a wire that had a loop in it that went into that. I don't really know. I told you I didn't really know, and I told you I don't think they used an eye hook, but I was wrong. I put an eye hook on, and it fits perfectly into that groove, and so now I'm able to latch the door. It's not an original eye hook, but oh well. Now the clock, as you can see, is level, but that way, not quite level. This way, the clock is not quite in beat, but when it's on the wall, you could tilt the clock to get it in beat. Keeping the pendulum on while you put the dial on, that's going to be the tricky part. Now these thumb screws, as you can see, have threads on them. Or you should be able to see it. If I could get the camera to focus. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, there's not threads in the brass feet anymore. So this one slid in, but the other two are not working. So I'm going to have to just grind them off, or save these for, I don't know, but use wire to poke in those holes to keep the dial from coming off. And by the way, the numbers keep falling off. And yes, and that's why, again, it can be fixed, but if it was packed right, if it was shipped right, I wouldn't be having these problems. I've spent 3 days It's now Tuesday. I got this clock in Sunday. I started working on it Sunday. I spent 3 days to get it this far. If you were to buy something off eBay that's supposed to be in working order, yeah, this site didn't say it was in working order. However, if you buy something off of eBay and the seller showed you the pictures and they packed it wrong, and again, they packed this clock wrong, they didn't have any packing whatsoever, hardly any packing in this case, so the movement shifted, the dial shifted, and so if they would have packed it right, I wouldn't be having these issues. I had to glue the number 3 back on, but I got it all together. Now to find a place to hang it on the wall, and then touch up the spots where the masking tape took it off. And because the design of this hanger, where you hang up the clock, I'm not going to put my normal sheetrock screw in because I don't want it to fall off. It's too short. So I have this long decking screw that once you put it at an angle, it shouldn't fall off. And of course, I'm still going to use these inserts because there's not going to be a stud where I'm going to hang this thing. But these inserts hold up to 79 pounds. And because you're not pulling on chains, it should be fine. And I have another video where I talk about these drywall anchors. And so check out that video. I use them on all my clocks. Unless it's an 8-day heavy cuckoo clock or a heavy clock, those clocks go in studs. The mounting brackets. The screw, the decking screw, and those inserts. And this clock is going to go above my refrigerator because I've got room. Now, some people might say I'm a hoarder of clocks. I would tend to agree. But you know that hoarding is caused through depression. So if you have a problem with my clocks, you blame it on my ex-wife. Because when I got a divorce, I got extremely depressed. So collecting fills that need that you once had. It doesn't feel it as good as being married to my wife, but it kind of fills in the hole of the heart, and then the heart gets emptied, so you got to fill it back in. And so that's why I collect clocks. I started collecting them when we were married. However, I'm not going to go into that. And so, don't believe me? Look it up. Hoarding is a sign of depression. On a side note, it is 5:15. It's not dark. Why is the moon out? Yes, that's the moon. Why is it out? It's not dark. The clouds are covering up. I did take pictures. Here it comes. Why is it out? It's 5:15. As you can hear, it's settling down still, but it's pretty well in beat. I got blue tape on it to hold the 3 in position until I'm done with it. And I end up using those barbecue skewers to hold the movement in because those little rods suck. And the plate is coming away from the dial, but I'll worry about that later. It's about 10 till 5 here. I might have to adjust the gong a little bit. I'm sorry, it's 4 minutes till 5 here. But there it sits. It's a little bit crooked. I don't care. Like I said, with these clocks, because the way they put the movement in, if they didn't put the movement in perfectly, you could sit there and adjust it all day long. And while the movement is out of the case, and you put it back in the case, and it don't work perfectly. But I'm happy with it. I'm happy where it hangs. I hope y'all like this video. And as I was saying before, hoarding is a sign of depression. And I'm not going to tell the VA that I'm depressed. I don't like their confidentiality rules. And yeah, I took a PTSD test. It was undetermined whether or not I have PTSD. I didn't want to answer their questions. I've seen a psychiatrist at the VA once before when I was dating this girl, and everybody in the world read my records. And when I complained to the VA about it, I told them an education counselor has no right to view my medical records between me and a psychiatrist talking. Their response was, my records are now flagged. People who work at the VA, their records are flagged. So if I see a new doctor or whatever, first thing they ask me is, where do you work in the VA? And so their confidentiality system sucks. Anyway, leave me some comments. May God bless each and every one of you.